Hey, it's Alex from BoardGameCo over here, and it is another Kickstarter roundup, a bunch of stuff to go through. Half of these things already have dedicated videos, a few more of them will be getting dedicated videos, although I'm actually curious for your own opinion in the comments down below, some of these things, which ones you want a full dedicated video on, versus just being covered in this week's roundup, plus next week's roundup and all that. There's so much going on, I'm like half wary of overwhelming my, videos with just 2 weeks straight of dedicated Kickstarter videos. Versus maybe it's just the time of the year. Maybe it's just whenever it happens, it'll just be a week or two and then we'll go back to our regularly scheduled, mixed up content with all the other stuff. But either way, your opinions do matter, and I would love to hear from you in the comments down below for any of these. I'll cover the specific ones that I'm on the fence about and which ones I think are getting, and we'll go into that. And as usual, timestamps down below. And let's just jump into it. So to begin with, we have Inkas the Legend. Inkas the Legend is sadly cancelled. This one, they took a lot of the feedback in. This is a very interesting one. I commented on it last week, and they seem to be incredibly receptive to feedback, seeking out what they can do to improve upon it. This was really a game that was very much in the vein of what Kickstarter is for. It was and again, I have no problem with what Kickstarter is being used for, but the original intent of creating a product, this was a non-finished product that was still being developed, and they got a lot of flack, from myself included, for the fact that it was not finished because I thought it was finished. And so they are in the middle of, refinishing, refining, refining the campaign, putting into place changes, and they plan on relaunching in, I believe they said, sometime early 2021. So keep an eye out for it. If you're interested in it, it will be coming back. And from there we go to Merchants of Infinity, which is canceled but relaunching next week. Basically, the combination of all the big everything hitting last week just made that the combination of that, combined with the fact that they got some of their pricings wrong because they put the funding in the wrong currency, rather than changing things and hopefully people noticed, they just said we'll cancel, we'll relaunch between the less packed next week and having the prices actually accurate day one. And they think they even fine-tuned further to further reduce some of their pricing even past the currency mistake. So keep an eye out for this. If you're interested in Merchants of Infinity, it will be coming back early October, I believe in 2 weeks from, today. From there we have Heroquest. Heroquest I'm putting here because it's not really, I'm putting this in the beginning of the video because it's not really a typical Kickstarter. It's a pre-order system being run on Hasbro Pulse. I just put up a video on it yesterday, so if you want a full deep dive where I go into why I think Hasbro did things right. I really have a whole video dedicated to the fact that this game was always going to disappoint people, and while people are frustrated with Hasbro's decisions, I think they make sense. I think they legit make sense, and I just think we're not the target audience for this game. As far as this campaign itself, if you want to know more, it's $99 for the Heroic tier, $149 for the Mythic tier. One thing I'll clarify from that video is I mentioned that I didn't understand why. One of the things I disagreed with them on, that I couldn't come up with a good excuse for, is why they weren't shipping it internationally, and a bunch of people pointed out that it's most likely licensing issues, that Hasbro most likely has the North American rights, which is probably why they're willing to ship it to Canada, which is international shipping, but they're not willing to ship it elsewhere. Additionally, if you are someone who is interested in this and were in Canada, I believe they updated their shipping prices, so they're now significantly cheaper. Before it was like $130, something like that. It's much, much, much less, which begs the question, what happened? Either way, if you are in Canada and interested, this is cheaper. If you are international interested, I'm sorry, I apologize. I wish you can get easier access. There's always a secondhand market and or retail. Generally, again, following other people's opinions, which I didn't know about, but generally Hasbro has a trend of putting things out later in potentially other areas. So there could be licensing issues that might come later, whole bunch of ifs, ands, or buts in there, maybes, whatnot. But the actual campaign itself, it's $99 to get, the base pledge over here, the Heroic tier, $149 to get the Mythic tier. Last things worth mentioning in terms of stretch goals and whatnot, they have down here, they have over here the stretch goals, 1.4, 1.6, all the way up to 2 million where they're going to have a quest book. At 4 million, they're having something with Joe Mangali, I can never say his name. Joe, the D&D guy who, I should learn his name. I should prep for this next time. Either way, they have a 4 million stretch goal with Joe, and as one of my commenters pointed out one of my viewers pointed out in my video on Heroquest, that they teased a potential set of new rules in one of their videos and one of their live streams and whatnot, and that may well be the $3 million stretch goal. So keep an eye on it. If you were interested in this game and the lack of new rules was a problem for you, keep an eye on the campaign. Campaign is a loose term. I don't even know what this is, but keep an eye on this. There's 45 or somewhere, there's a bunch of days left. I don't know what we're up to left. There's a lot of days left, and a lot of things might change. It's an interesting one because it's not the usual thing we're used to, but it still may end up being something that you're interested in. From there we have Return to Planet Apocalypse. Return to Planet Apocalypse, 8 days to go, 468,000. This thing will top 500, probably top 600. If it gets more than 600, that'll be pretty impressive, but it may well. They have a lot of stuff going on here. I already covered this. I did a Should You Back It on it. I did a review on it. So if you want to see either of those, short version of both is from Should You Back It. It's a good back. If you take a look at the pricing on this, the pricing now compared to what it'll cost you retail on the secondhand market, this is a good back. I'm not going to go overly into detail because I did a full video on it, but that's the short version. As far as my review really came down to the fact that for me, on a personal level, not you, on a personal level, I enjoyed the game, was very conflicted to the point that I even temporarily backed this $660 pledge over here. I was like, oh, it's a good buy, I want to get it, and so I backed it, but then a few hours later I canceled it when I realized it's not a game that's going to hit the table as often for me. I think it's a good game, it's a lot of fun, it has upgrades. Again, I have a full review that goes into this. Short version for me is the theme really doesn't pull me in, and there were some small gameplay aspects that I prefer other games, and I just see those hitting the table more. Great game, highly recommended. I can see why it has the rating it does. I can see why many people, both, regular people. I can see why both people on BoardGameGeek as well as other reviewers have liked this game, have enjoyed this game. There's a lot to like here. For me, it's just, primarily the theme just doesn't pull me in, unfortunately. Past that, lots of stuff going on here. They added the $666 pledge. If you weren't aware of it, they initially had it limited to 66 copies, and now they have more copies available. They said they actually have a fun update. This is actually a fun one. I'm going to go into it. So over here they have They released it over here. Here we go. The Diabolical Deal. They released the Diabolical Deal for 666 backers, 66 copies available, and it is a good deal. It is not as good a deal as if you had backed it in the original Kickstarter. So if you've done the price checking on that, 100%, that would have been a better deal. That being said, they've already commented on it, which makes sense. They said that when they first have a print run of a new product line, they more heavily discount it to get it on people's shelves, to try to get out the door, to make sure that it's a success and people get it. That after the fact, if you want to get it later, yeah, it's more expensive. I'm totally fine with that. There is a reward to taking risks in life. There is a reward to being a backer on something when it's more of a risk, when it's more of an unknown, when there's less certainty. I am totally fine with those people being rewarded for taking that risk. If you want to compare it to retail prices or what it'll be on the secondhand market, it's still a good deal. Is it as good as if somebody who had backed it the first time round? No. I'm okay with that. It might be frustrating, but that is the nature of rewarding your early adopters. Past that, they had an update after, and this is the part that I found amusing. The update after basically said, again, they released $666, 66 copies. Remember that, okay? And then this next update, they're like, we basically limited to 66 copies because those were the available sets we had in the warehouse, but so many of you were so excited and sold out within minutes that we decided to, make it available for everyone, and we're just going to do a full print run. I'm okay with marketing. I love marketing. And Peterson Games, if you see this, no offense, I'm totally cool with marketing. I mean, I just put out a video yesterday with a slightly clickbaity title because marketing is a thing. There's a reason. You gotta get people on the door. You also have to, it's a balance. It's a balance of trusting your buyers, trusting your viewers. It's a balance of having that relationship, but also marketing. They're both things. At the same time, whoever wrote this, our plan was to limit it to the 66 copies we had left in our warehouse. What you probably should have written, just to stick with it, is we plan to limit it to the 66 copies in our warehouse, parentheses, actually we had about 75, but we wanted to make it 66 for the, sounds good part, meaning own the fact that you didn't have 66 copies in your house. There's no way you have a 666 Devil's Number pledge and you only allowed 66 exact copies. That's how many you had, coincidentally. Just, if you're going to do marketing, if you're going to have this kind of spin where you release it later, own it to some degree, or at least pretend that, we really had more than 66, but that was a good number. Any case, tangent, I digress. Point is, great game and good price. That's ultimately what this whole thing comes down to. In too deep, before we go into anything else, worth noting that on Wednesday at 7:30 EST, I think I should probably check. I'm checking this own update. Wednesday at 7:30 EST, we are having where is it? I don't know where. We're having a live stream basically somewhere. Here we go. Yes, 7:30 Good thing I checked. 7 p.m. EST, Wednesday, September 30th is going to be a live playthrough. I'm going to be taking part of that, as well as a few other content creators, Nicole from Daily Worker Placement, co-designer Josh, and Devin of the Game Tyrant. So the four of us are going to be having a live playthrough. If you want to see me play Into Deep, or if you want to see anyone play Into Deep, then go ahead and check that out. Like I said, this is a fascinating one. It's still, even now, is not getting the level of traction that a Burnt Island game normally does, which is interesting to me. I mean, I get it, because it's not a traditional game. It's not a traditional Euro, not a traditional worker placement, not a traditional anything. It is very, very different in what it's doing. People have been overwhelmingly positive for most people who have played it. Definitely some critiques, but I would say it's generally had a very, very positive response. It's one that's worth checking out. Sure, it will be available retail. It will be available, though, with standees and less extras and less deluxe components. I really do recommend checking it out, and I do firmly believe that this one will hold its value. If you're unsure, it is 100% true that you can probably get this for close to half the price at retail, but it will be a lesser experience. It will be a lesser game. So both those things are true. If you're on the fence, hold out, check it out later. It's still a good game, even with the standees and even without the extras. It'll still be a good game. But it is, yeah, it's a good one. That's basically what it comes down to. Again, I have a full video on this, so I believe I have a full video on this. I have a review on this and a full video on this, so lots of stuff to check out there as well. From there we get to Dangerous. Dangerous it might be the first one. I think most of the stuff I've had full videos on at this point. Again, it's been a crazy week. Dangerous is a light card game. This is it's a localized game. This is something they've done in the past. Raw Potions Publishing has done this in the past. They've taken a game that did well somewhere else and then localized that game. This is kind of a little bit of a deduction game, playing cards on the table. I don't know the full gameplay of it. As far as whether you should or shouldn't back it, holding its value, all that. The pledge levels are $16 with 22 hours to go. So by the time you see this, not a lot of hours to go, but $16 for the early bird or $18 for the game, plus shipping as well. It's one of those things that falls in the category of it is not a game that will hold its value. Almost certainly not. If you think you can sell this for the $25 you paid for it or whatever it is, it's unlikely to be the case. At the same time, this might be your easiest opportunity to get it, because it's not, I mean, we have 69 backers with 11 days to go. So what? It's going to hit 120 backers. It's not going to be readily or easily available after the fact. This might be your best opportunity to get it, but it certainly is one that will not hold its value as far as reselling your own copy. So definitely a risk, but hey, if you want to get it, it looks like an interesting game. I generally like deduction games. I generally like, light card games. At the same time, the price point of $25 for what you're getting is more than you might pay. I mean, think about it. A game like Coup will cost you $8. A game like Brave Rats will cost you $8. A game like Resistance will cost you $15. Kickstarter does not do well. Kickstarter does not offer a good value for small card games. They're just overpriced. It's just inherent in it's nothing against the publisher. It just is what it is. From there, we get to the Dragon and the Flagon, the Brew That Is True. Now, offhand, if you don't know what that's referencing, shame on you. You should watch The Court Jester. Amazing movie. Probably does not hold up at all, but it is, you know what? For those handful of people, I'm going to regret this. This was not planned. For those handful of people who actually have watched The Court Jester, when I was a lad, I was gloomy and sad as I was when the day I was born. When other boys gurgled and wiggled, I proudly was loudly forlorn. My friends and my family looked at me clownily, thought there was something amiss. When other boys gurgled and wiggled, and all I could manage was this. Or this, da. My father, he cried as he rushed to my side. My father, he shouted, it needs to be Cloud, he's a brute. I'm messing this up. My mother, she cried as she rushed to my side, you're a brute, and you don't understand him. So they sent for a witch with a terrible twitch, and they asked how my future impressed her. She took one look at me and said, hee 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 hee, hee 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 hee, hee 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 hee. What else could he be but a jester? A jester? A jester? A funny idea, a jester. I'm missing the rest. With no butcher, no baker, no candlestick maker, and me with the look of a fine undertaker, and he pressed her? As a jester? I can keep going, or maybe I can't, I don't remember. I used to know that whole song off by heart. This was not a typical Alex singing at the beginning of his videos things. The Court Jester is a great movie. Half of you think I'm crazy because you have no clue what just happened there. The other half of you have actually watched it and are decently impressed that I can do that. But again, I did not prep for this. Point is, Dragon and the Flagon, the Brew That Is True, is relevant to the Court Jester. As far as this campaign, I don't know, this is why I should edit. As far as this campaign itself, $30 for this game is probably not worth it. That's what it comes down to. This is an expansion for the Dragon and the Flagon. Dragon and the Flagon is an okay game, rated decently, not amazing, and it's a $30 expansion plus shipping at $9. It's going to be $39 for an MSRP of $40. Now, the MSRP, I'm assuming, is $40. They don't actually say it here, but they do say that the expansion plus the base game is an MSRP of $100, and the expansion has MSRP of $60, so I can just do the math from there. So it's $30 plus $9 shipping, $39 for an MSRP of $40 to get the expansion. The base game plus expansion is $60, which is a slightly better deal. At the same time, the base game you can get on Amazon right now for $37, which still leaves you overpaying for, actually, does it? Yeah, it still leaves you overpaying for the expansion or whatnot. It is likely not worth getting this one on Kickstarter. If you are interested, check out the base game. If you already want the expansion, check it out later. They do have stretch goals, but as far as Kickstarter exclusive stretch goals, they currently have one of these stretch goals over here. I don't know if stretch goals, daily reveals. They do have daily reveals. They have the new character assassin, the new potion, but the only one that's actually available as a Kickstarter exclusive is this one so far. So as of right now, it's not worth it. You have to make a personal determination as far as whatever extras are released. Are they worth basically paying MSRP to get this expansion? Unlikely that it is, but that is a determination you have to make for yourself. As far as holding its value, I just don't see the expansion holding its value, unfortunately. They've even addressed this. They have the why Kickstarter section over here. Every month, tens of thousands of people flock here. By supporting this campaign, you become a backer. They go on and on about Kickstarter, and they don't really tell you that you're getting much out of it. In the last section, they're like, we're able to offer rewards, and doesn't really cover that. There's not a lot of reasons to actually back her. I think Stronghold Games is excellent. This might be them turning to Kickstarter in the age of no conventions. I like their games. I like Terraforming Mars. I back the Terraforming Mars big box, but everything's contextual, everything's situational. I do think this game of the Dragon, the Flagon, the Brew That Is True is not worth backing on Kickstarter. Might be worth getting, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it's worth backing on Kickstarter as of now. From there we have Hogs of War, the miniatures game. Hogs of War, the miniatures game, has 1,036 backers, $121,000, and it looks adorable, and they hooked me with their polyominoes. I don't care about the miniatures, I don't care about the skirmish, I love polyomino games. This one comes in with an $88 pledge level for the base, $127, which gives you a bunch of extras. This is effectively a tactical miniature skirmish game. This remake of the original PS1 game gives you that flavor, supposedly. I'm just quoting other people at this point because I never played it, but the game absolutely captures my memory of the PS1 game from the Hungry Gamer, and that's not the only testimonial along those lines. As far as what they have over here, they have a bunch of stretch goals. They have, I'm trying to get up to the pledge level differences. We have 96 miniatures, which look okay. But this is where it gets tricky, because I am interested in this game, but as of now, I'm not backing it. We have a 4-fold board. We have 24 reversible modular terrain. Keep going. The polyominoes. I want the polyominoes. I just like polyominoes. 24 unit class cards, 100 upgrade cards, 100 tokens, 24 base and deployables. Come on, let's get to the extras. There is a solo deck. Keep that in mind for you solo gamers out there. And then from there, we have the deluxe edition, which is basically an extra 127, an extra $49 to get the Neophene mat, pigeon miniature unit, 18 deployable miniatures, and metal coin, which $49 for all that is okay. A playmat alone will be $25-$30. These extra deployable miniatures could be $20. It's a reasonable price, not particularly amazing, but the extras, the difference between the two pledge levels, given what you're getting, I think is a reasonable price. The problem is the $88 plus shipping to get this game. I'm not seeing enough of a reason here yet. It could be that will change, but I'm hesitant to believe that this one will hold its value, given the amount of content you're getting. I think like Northgard before, you're paying for a certain amount of licensing. Northgard managed to do well enough and put enough on the table that at the end of the campaign, I ended up changing my mind and saying that I think it was worth it. But right now, this is very much where I was in the beginning of the Northgard campaign. It's a game I'm interested in. It's a game that looks good. It has a polyomino base building system. I mean, this is like miniatures game with a base building system that will help you build a better system and make units and do whatever, but it's polyomino based. They're combining something I love with a genre that I already like, and I don't know. I am interested in this. I'm just hesitant based on the price as of right now, and I'm hesitant to believe that you'll be able to get basically $100 back. Once you factor in shipping, I do not think, how much is shipping over here? I do not think you'll be able to get $100 back for this game. I think it's a hard sell as of now, and yeah, it's a tough one. But if you are interested in this game, by all means check it out. It does look great. It just, hopefully it will actually live up. Reviews overall seem to be that it's a very good game. Does not seem to be blowing anyone away, but it seems to be a good game. It seems to be a good system, a little bit of nostalgia mixed into what is overall a good miniatures game and a good polyomino base to that game. Looks interesting. For right now, I'm not backing it, but I am certainly keeping an eye on it. Next up, we have The Thing, the board game. Now, The Thing, the board game is the first of 3 games over here that I would love your feedback on as to whether it gets a dedicated video. I am not covering in this Kickstarter in this video right now because, well, frankly, I have a whole lot of Jewish holidays coming up. I had Rosh Hashanah last week. I have Yom Kippur tomorrow. I have Sukkot coming in the whole next week. This is the busiest holiday season for Jewish people right now, and that means I'm offline a lot, have less time to research, less time to do my job, my board game company, and now YouTube as well. And so in order to not compromise on that, I did not do half research on a few games today. I'd rather give them the full dedicated attention or cover them in next week's roundup. So The Thing is the first of which I'm not covering at all from a should you back it stance. I need to do my research, but it'll either be in a dedicated roundup, it'll either be in next week's roundup, or it'll get a dedicated video. Let me know in the comments down below if you want a full dedicated video on The Thing. Past that, it is basically, I mean, it's a John Carpenter movie, which I love, and if you haven't watched that is a movie that holds up, by the way, in my opinion. But this is basically a lot of people comparing to Battlestar Galactica. It ultimately has the idea of a character who's, you know, hidden, that will slowly be trying to make other characters bad along with them, effectively aliens, and then the whole survival, you have to get out and get to the helicopter or burn down sections of your base. It looks totally up my alley. So as a starting point, understand that I am very, very interested in this game, but I don't know if I'm backing it yet. And we'll come back to that, but let me know in the comments down below. Machina Arcana. I did a full video on this, but it's worth watching what I have to say here because I'm going to be adding a bit. I got a little distracted in the last video talking about some of the the original backer drama that was going on, which seems to have mostly been resolved, but I didn't fully cover the pledge level, so I'll be going into that. I do have a review coming as well. I will say as well, for my review, it is worth watching because my overall opinion, I'll spoil it right now, my overall opinion is I love this game. Absolutely love it. But I think that there are many reasons I'm going to give why it might not be a game that you will like. Things that I can certainly see being a problem for others, and things that have been a problem for me in other games, but not in Machina Arcana, surprisingly. So if you want to see more context to my opinion, by all means, check out the review. For me, I absolutely love it. As far as the Kickstarter campaign itself, I'm just going to be going, if you want the full, I guess everything, go into the video I already did on it, the should you back it. But the pledge levels I want to talk about is they have a $25, I can't see my page to scroll properly. We have a $25 To Eternity expansion, which is basically just the new content in case you have the other stuff already. A little more complicated than that, but I covered that in the last video. We have a $60 core game, and we have $100 for the core game and expansions bundle. And then we have a $220 all-in bundle, which gives you all the optional buys and saves you $20 in that. Should you do that? Well, it depends if you want the optional buys. This is one of those few times I'm not going to give them a hard time but sleeves, or not as hard a time, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Let's go down to the optional buys over here. This is basically a dungeon crawler. It's a deep world dungeon crawler where you have to escape and run from the monsters as often as you fight them, so lots of tense, tough decisions to be made there. As far as the optional buys, if I can get to them, we have a bunch of stretch goals being unlocked, still more to come, pledge levels over here, and optional buys, the add-ons. We have a $15 card update pack. This is relevant if you want the updates to your original expansion. If you have the Machina Arcana 2nd Edition, you want the upgrade pack. We have the To Eternity expansion already, the From Beyond. We have the Codex, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, the Codex Eternum, Codex Arcanum, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. But both those are basically, they're beautifully written, illustrated art books into the story. I will personally I'm very interested in those because I usually do not get art books, but Machina Arcana has some of the most gorgeous board game art I've ever seen. Genuinely some of the most gorgeous board game art I've ever seen. This is one where I firmly believe this will hold its value because this game has a passionate audience of people. And that means every other person who can potentially join that passionate audience who backs this game just getting the game and not the art books, I think they're going to want them later. I'm not willing to stake anything on this because art books in general, in my own personal experience, art books in general are not as in demand and do not do as good a job holding their value. Specifically in Machina Arcana, because of the passion that people involved seem to, myself included, seem to have for this game, I think this is one where they will hold their value. This is one of the exceptions where I'm getting them because, yeah, they look incredible. We have a dice file for an extra set of dice. I will say, I've only played this game with 2 players, and I have no real desire to play with 3 or 4. With 2 players, you have more than enough dice. Passing them back and forth is not a problem. With more, I can see it being helpful to have dice on both sides of the table or whatnot. But if you're playing with just 2 players, I think it's totally fine the way it is. And then the sleeves, this is one where, because of Machina Arcana's card choices, I think the sleeves are actually more helpful. Which is to say, some of their cards are a more annoying size that are less commonly available in sleeves. At $25 for 660 sleeves, that's basically $4 per 100 sleeves, which is a little bit more than you can get. You can get cheaper sleeves for sure. You can get cheap. Yeah, geez, you can get cheaper sleeves for like $2 a pack, but the actual difference in price compared to the hassle of trying to find a brand that you like that actually has matching sleeves for the set, it's a little bit more of a hassle than usual. To be clear, I don't think $25 is an excellent, amazing price for the sleeves, but I do think it's a good price considering the hassle and considering the $20 bundle discount for sure if you're getting everything. And then finally, the $45 game mats. Again, they're giving you enough content here for 4 players. I think this game shines with 2 or 1 player playing two-handed effectively. I think 3 and 4 drags this game down. By the way, I have not played with 3 and 4, but we'll get to that in my review. I have not played with 3 and 4. I just think it would drag the game down in terms of game time. But either way, this overall, I'm still interested in all this stuff. So as far as the all-in bundle, if you're interested in that stuff, a $20 discount is excellent. If you are not, if you don't care about game mats, then you're not getting a $20 discount, you're just getting game mats for $25. So factor that into your decision. But overall, the game itself will hold its value. Excellent game. The extras, it depends on the extras in particular, but the art books I do think will hold their value. From there, we move to Night Parade of the 100 Yokai. By the way, this one's going to be a long video, and I had to cut like 5 or 6 that I pushed off to next week. So this is a lot of stuff. Night Parade of the 100 Yokai raise an army of supernatural beings to haunt the islands of Japan in this asymmetrical engine building game. This is interesting. It looks absolutely adorable. This is one where I actually plan or hope to play it on Tabletop Simulator myself to get to see if it's a game for me. It looks adorable. It's an engine building worker placement game, which is not worker placement. It's an engine building game where with adorable art, adorable miniatures. Looks totally up my alley, something I'm very interested in, but it's also $50 plus shipping to get the game. Now, you're getting an expansion built in, you're getting all the stretch goals, social goals, whatever it is, all built in, but it's going to cost you like $60 to get this game, which is a lot of money for this. It's a lot of money. It is available on Tabletopia. I believe it's available on Tabletopia, not Tabletop Simulator. So check it out to see if it's for you, if you're interested by it. If you're not interested, then don't check it out at all. I don't think it will hold its value. My personal interest aside, I just think that they're asking too much for the game for given what you're getting, and it is adorable, don't get me wrong, but I think the $60 price point, once you factor in shipping, I don't see you getting your money back if you buy this game. As far as, is it one that, is it worth it to you personally? That's a hard determination to make. I just don't think it will hold its value if you're trying to sell it down the road. Past that, it looks adorable. I'm very interested, and I hope to play it on Tabletopia before the campaign ends, and to make a determination there to see if it's something I'm willing to, well, just get anyways. Next up from there, we have 7th Citadel, which I don't know if I have anything actually new to add here. They're slowly checking out their way of 1.8 million so far, 17 days to go. More stuff will be unlocked. They did firmly, officially commit to the fact that it will be available at retail. They said, let me go to the update over here. They said basically it's going to be, I believe, $69 or not less than $69. A classic edition of the game will be available for not less than $69. And I think the classic edition of 7th Continent was $59. So there, yeah, basically, I mean, no surprises there. Everyone assumed by now, but the price point is a new thing because I just assumed it would be $59, and turns out it'll be $69. So that's a relevant point, assuming they stick to that, which maybe they will. I'm sure people will say, well, they didn't stick to it last time, so why will they stick to it this time? I assume they'll stick to it. I don't actually know, but, it's whatever. I assume they will. As far as stretch goals, they're just chalking through them. 100k a pop, but still that adds up, because at 100k a pop, if you get 4 or 5 cards every 100k, and this campaign hits 4 million, like I think it will, that's another 125 cards that you're going to see in this campaign, in this game. So that's a lot of content that will be added to the game if you're getting a handful of cards every 100k, but it hits those funding levels. Whether it hits 4 million or not, I don't know. My personal prediction was 4 million by the end of the campaign, potentially more with optional buys, but it can be anything. I mean, this is 7th Citadel. It's a big deal, a lot of stuff going on here. As far as my own personal opinion, no spoilers there. This is what I'll say. I'm still forming my opinion because I'm not yet done playing. I will say that I believe that I like it better than 7th Continent, but there are pros and cons associated. There are things I like better about both, but I believe I like it better than 7th Continent. I will get into that more when I actually do my review. From there, we have Set a Watch. Set a Watch is number 2 on the list of games that I do not have a should you back it opinion here, but I do want your opinion as to whether it should get a dedicated video or just the should you back it in next week's roundup. Set a Watch is a game that is primarily, you play 1 to 4 players, but it's primarily a solo experience. It's best with 1. It is a game that I have played the original. This is the expansion, Swords of the Coin. I have played the original. I liked the original a lot. I played it a few times, and then I got rid of it because it started to feel a little samey over time. I don't know if this is just the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia, but looking at this campaign, I plan on getting it back. I straight up planning on getting the original back, and hopefully probably getting this as well, although retail or now I haven't decided yet, but I really, really enjoyed this game. It's possible that I will get it back, play it a few times, and be like, yep, that's why I got rid of it. Totally possible. But again, my biggest problem with it was it felt a little samey and a little bit too much scripted. Like, once you went through the sequences, it didn't feel like there was as much choice as I would have liked, that the optimal moves were clearly placed out, but I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, and again, we'll see if it's nostalgia, but I'm getting it back. That's what it comes down to. It's basically a solo experience with you and a bunch of adventurers in the woods, and each adventurer has their own abilities, and you have these rows of monsters you have to handle, and you roll your dice, you allocate them to different abilities. I liked it. I don't know what to tell you. I liked it. I will be getting it back, and I'll be covering the should you back it either in next week's roundup or in a dedicated video, and that is up to you. Next up, we have Dinosaur World and Dinosaur Island Rawr and Right. No significant updates here. Again, I did a full dedicated video. Half the stuff in this roundup I've done a full dedicated video on. It's hitting 500, closing in on 500,000, 6,000 backers. This is one that is doing phenomenally well. The base game, I believe, like I said already, the short notes over here, our base game will hold its value. Base game should hold its value just fine. Bunch of extra screen printed meeples. These will be plastic, supposedly, which is a shame. I was really hoping they'd be wood. I like wood so much more better than plastic for meeples. Either way, they'll be screen printed plastic. I'll still take it. The overall art appeal of this game is so much better to me than Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island, I have not played it yet. Looks like a great game. I have it on my shelf, but the art aesthetic does not appeal to me at all. This one does much more so, so I just have to give it a shot. I haven't decided if I'm backing this one. That will probably depend on my own opinion of Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island Rawr is a game that I'm definitely much more interested in, but I'm only going to bother getting that in the campaign if I get it as part of this, extra $25 for both pledge. Otherwise, I will pass on that. As far as, and expect them soon, but it still says coming soon. I don't know when it's going to be available. It says coming soon on Tabletopia for both of these. I don't know when it's available. Hopefully before there's like 5 days left in the campaign, but we'll figure that out later. As far as extras being added, let's see where we are with extras. Both of them have extras we had over here. Just stretch goals and whatnot. First player markers, a ton of extra dinosaurs, screen printed dinosaurs, the Jeeple, it sounds like a wrong word. The Jeep Meeple, I guess Jeeple works. The solo mode, and there is a solo mode, so keep that in mind. I know a lot of people in my last video talked about the lack of solo. There is a solo mode, but that one is a big deal. The Stegosaurus, although it's not really Kickstarter exclusive, I can't imagine. I mean, the rules will be available at some place, right? So it's not. I don't know how that's a solo, whatever, maybe there's components, I don't know. Stegosaurus, we have the draw bag for the Rawr, Scientist Meeple, Clone Zone, and then we have a solo mode for the Dinosaur Island Rawr. Again, I'm not sure about the exclusive nature of that, although this one, this is interesting, this one doesn't have an exclusive mark, so maybe there is some sort of exclusive components. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. We have timed exclusives on time exclusive. We have the Brontosaurus, and then lastly we have an eraser, we have an eraser over here, and more meeples, more DNA dice, more this, more security meeple, a whole bunch of extra stuff coming with like a handful of tiles, basically just a lot of extras. For the Rawr, they have an eraser and a bag as of right now, so not a ton there. The base game has a lot more, and that's probably where the main value comes in. I will still be keeping an eye on this and letting you know any updates or anything else. Again, the big ones I tend to cover in my weekly roundups, but we'll see how that goes. And then lastly on the list is the third one that I am not covering in detail. This is Dungeon Universalis. Well, I'm not covering in detail today. This is Dungeon Universalis, which I'll either be going more into on the next roundup, or I'll be doing a dedicated video. As with the last two, I would love your opinion on what you want to see. If you want to see a dedicated video on this, just post it in the comments down below. I'm not sure. I mean, if there's enough support, I'll do all three. I will probably be doing at least one of these three, almost certainly. Whether I do 1, 2, or 3 is up to you. Dungeon Universalis is the second printing of the last Kickstarter. The last Kickstarter had a lot of hype, a lot of buzz, kind of landed, and then they're going straight to another Kickstarter, which is a typical thing that is done. Just the nature of production cycles and production and shipping and planning and trying to make everything continue to work. It's always a little bit annoying. There is an upgrade pack for returning backers, but it's €35 and you just got your game. Same thing with Machina Arcana. Same exact problem. It is a problem with the cycle of Kickstarter, and it's not one. I'm sympathetic to the backers, and all the time I'm always sympathetic to backers. I'm also sympathetic to the project creators. Are they supposed to just not make another game? Would you rather that they continue to iterate and build upon a good game, or would you rather they move to a new game? Would that make you feel better? Or would you rather they make no games and just hope that there's enough money? It's a complicated conversation. It really, really is. It's a conversation I tackled once before when I first started doing YouTube, but I think it's probably deserving of another video at this point. It is ultimately the concept of coming back to games and redoing them is annoying and frustrating to people. The concept of doing other new games than just never coming back and never revisiting and just constantly pushing out the new thing is annoying to people. And the concept of not putting out another game at all is just not sustainable for people who are trying to make money as a business here. It's very, very complicated, very nuanced conversations that we will have another time. As far as Dungeon Universalis, well, I don't really know. I'm not interested in for myself, I'll tell you that right now. Primarily, I just have too many dungeon crawlers, and this one looks much more rules-heavy than I'm interested in. That being said, I have not looked into it extensively because, well, I don't yet know if I'm doing a dedicated video or another roundup. That's it. It is a packed week, and this is with me cutting like 6 or 7 things off the table. This is me taking 6 or 7 Kickstarters off the table, pushing them off to next week, and that's with me not going heavily into The Thing, Set a Watch, or Dungeon Universalis. Just too much stuff going on. I'm Alex Ratcliffe. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below on those 3 which ones you want to see. And until next time, have a good one.